take a short quiz before you conclude your training. Now I'm gonna go pee before I go, so that I don't.
Good afternoon. My name is Loopy Stevens, and I'm the new program director for PREETS. And I think we'll get started in just a minute. I want to make sure we have everybody that's going to attend. So we'll be getting started here in just a second. Okay, I'm Loopy Stevens. Again, I'm the new program director for PREETS. And just so that you know that we are going to record this, so it can be, if anybody was unable to make this session, they'll be able to listen to it. I believe it'll be posted on our external website too. So I just want to start off with some introductions of some key people that will be assisting today. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Brown. I'm a program director for transition. Loopy and I work side by side. Nice to see everyone.
Cinda.
Hi, I'm Cinda Wacker. I'm the executive assistant to the director of Nebraska VR, and I'm the one who receives the emails of your RFP. We are looking forward to receiving them.
And Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Hancock. I am a program funding specialist too with Nebraska VR, and some of you have already had the pleasure of working with me through billing. Otherwise, I'll be the one that will be sending you the emails talking about invoices and billing documentation throughout the process. I'll also be the one working with your agency, if selected, on the contract writing process.
Okay, so what I want to do today is just kind of give you a brief overview of the proposal, and then we're going to be talking a little bit about the budget, and then open it up for any questions. Nebraska VR, in conjunction with the Nebraska Department of Education, Office of Special Education, requests proposals for the development and implementation of innovative short-term programs to provide job exploration and personal development opportunities for students with disabilities during the summer of 2022. The Workforce Innovative and Opportunity Act, WIOA, mandates VR agencies to set aside 15% of their budgets for pre-employment transition services. One of the several initiatives in the area of pre-employment transition services includes this RFP. And just to let you know, this is a collaborative activity that VR would like to be a part of the programs that are being proposed. The contract will be for 4 months to develop and implement. So note the dates is beginning in April of 2022 through July of 2022. I think in years past it went through August, but this year we kind of changed it up, and it's going to be the 4 months from April to July. And so all final billings will need to be submitted by August 30th. And the proposal due date will be January 14th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Central. And those need to be set electronically to Cinda Wacker. And her email address is in the packet, but it's cinda.wacker@nebraska.gov. And it needs to be in PDF format. The instructions on this is on page 5. And notification of selected proposals will be February 5th of 2022. Also, I want to note that a signed contract will be required for all proposals before services can begin. So you don't want to start anything before you have that signed contract. And all proposed services must be provided within the contract dates. No expenses will be paid for outside of the contract dates, including preparation costs. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll just continue. All students who participate in programs must have a signed Nebraska VR pre-employment transition service consent and release form, or have applied for Nebraska VR services prior to the beginning of the summer transition program. And we are also going to need a list of the students prior to the beginning of the program that intend to participate in the program. And then at the end of your program, then we will need a list of the participants that actually participated. The budget cannot exceed $49,000 per award during the contract period, and the program budget per award is based on available funds. As far as the proposal outline, things that it should include the goal of the proposed activity with at least one of the services that are required, which are job exploration, work-based learning, job readiness, self-advocacy, post-secondary post-secondary exploration. And these are all listed on page 4 of the proposal. So for example, if you're going to do a work-based learning, then one paragraph should be about this activity. So you want to separate each one of the activities that you're going to propose that you do in a separate paragraph. It should also include the number of students with disabilities to be provided services, the proposed service area, the projected time period of the proposed services. There has been some changes you'll notice in the proposal, and that was due to we had a monitoring and they had some requests from us to kind of change things up a little bit. And so that's why there's some different changes this year. As far as the proposal and budget narrative instructions, a description of the goal of the proposed activity for each service indicated in the proposal, which I said again before, and the number of students with disabilities to be provided services. Personnel, there should be information about just a brief overview of the organization and the experience and qualifications of the key personnel that are going to be involved with activities. You want to have a clear and realistic work plan with estimated timelines for all service development and implementation activities for the proposed PREETS transition services. And number 4 is coordination of service and evaluation. You want to describe the process for coordinating with Nebraska VR staff on student referral and progress reporting activities. So, invite those key people from VR to be a part of this, and so that they can help you ensure that everybody that you want to participate in this has been signed up with VR. And then we're going to go into talking about like the budget narrative and stuff. And I'm going to have Amy kind of discuss that a little bit with you.
Yay, here comes the fun stuff. Okay. So this year, we're really breaking things down and being a little bit more specific in how we're requesting things in the RFP. So for the budget, there's actually 2 different sections that are requested. If you'll look, I believe it's on page 5 or page 6, where it talks about budget narrative. As Loopy had mentioned, we did have a federal audit completed this year with RSA, and I'm sure many of you can relate to how much fun those audits can be. But one thing that we receive feedback is we really have to be showing cost for each of the services provided. So if you'll read under the budget narrative, it says describe an appropriate and realistic budget for all activities for each service. So for example, if you're going to do workplace readiness for that service, you would have to develop a budget for that. It sounds very confusing, and we're more than willing to answer very specific questions about that, but that is how this year we're going to break down the budget. So for example, if you're doing, let's say you're going to take your kids to a car, your students to a car wash, but at that car wash, you're going to do 3 services. You're going to do, a work-based learning. You're going to do some readiness skills, things like that. And that entire project of going to the car wash is going to cost you $1,500. Then you would decide how you want to break that down for the 3 services represented in that activity. I know that sounds confusing. Again, I'm more than willing to go over it with you when we get proposals or if you have questions. So on number 5, what we're really looking for is a description of the budget. Number 6 is the line item. And what I will tell you is to do number 6, your line item budget, as you're going to send in your invoice. So for each of the activities, you would put your personnel cost, if there's any student wages, if you're going to need any kind of supplies, whether it's paper or you're going to be mailing things. What I would do is I would take for each of the activities and each of the services and break down what you're going to need for them. And then you can also use that hopefully during invoicing. The budget total can only go up to $49,000 for every proposal. You can charge an indirect expense to your proposal as well. So if you are going to use indirect, you can use that to cover rent, utilities, anything else that may not be covered in one of the other major budget categories. So that's kind of a brief synopsis, and I will definitely answer any questions that you have.
So we'll just open it up for questions at this time.
Hey, Loopy, real quick, do you want to go over submittal of instructions with them before we answer questions in case anybody has to pop off during the questions? Do you want to just remind them again of who and the timelines and everything?
Okay, sure. So the proposal due date, I'm looking at my notes right now, is due on January 14th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Central Time. And it needs to be sent to Cinda Wacker at cinda.wacker@nebraska.gov, electronically PDF format. And so those instructions again are on page 5. And then we will notify you on February 5th, 2022, if you were selected for that. We also plan to do maybe some meetings after those agencies, organizations have been selected and kind of talk a little bit more about their proposal and stuff to kind of give you some more assistance on that. Does anybody have any questions? Lindsay, do you have anything to add to this?
I don't have a specific question, but the whole budgeting thing feels new and cumbersome to me. And I'm trying to figure out how to fit in 10 pages and list out all of the different little activities when you're listing personnel over and over and over again. It appears those are going to be a huge amount of space and tricky to keep track of.
Yeah.
Ideas?
We totally understand that. That's actually been a conversation that we've had on this side. To make it clear, I think when you're talking in your budget narrative, let's say you're doing the car wash one, you can say 4 staff previously identified will be attending the event. You don't need to go back through and relist, but you would say out of the 4 staff, we're looking at a total of $5,000 budget for their time. You don't have to go back through and relist all the names that you've already listed previously, if that helps. But it would just be more about, I know it feels very cumbersome, and we've had several discussions on how to make it as easy as we can, but you would just be able to break it down by what that event will cost. So are you going to make photocopies? Does everybody get like a packet of like 10 papers, those types of things? And hopefully what my hope is at the very end, when you are submitting billing, once we get that list of participants that Loopy mentioned previously, if you're doing something that has different phases, we're hoping that you'll be able to submit them either monthly or after each event, instead of having to wait to submit one giant invoice once we've received that participant list. So we're hopeful by using some of the direction we got from RSA that we'll be able to make it somewhat simpler for you in the end to be able to submit after an event versus waiting to the end. And I'm really sorry, can I ask your name? Because it says Rod.
I know, computers get names and then you're stuck. I'm Penny Boozengate.
You're
Scottsboro.
Penny. Nice to meet you, Penny.
So you know that I need help with this budget thing. And I'm worried about that, but we'll work on it. Thanks.
May I ask a question?
Sure, definitely.
This is Michaela Shards out of ESU 6. If we have a draft of a budget, is that something we could send to you, Cinda, and have you take a peek at it, or Lupe, to see if it's meeting these new criteria before we get to the deadline and submit it and it's not right?
I don't think before submission we can do that. But what I am working on, because we did change this, is I'm going to be working on like a mock version of what I would want you to submit, or what would be best. And I do believe that we can share that with people. Like I can add it to, so I need to figure out for sure how we can do that. I will also tell you that once you submit your proposal, if there are things that we have questions on, we will come back and ask you and give you an opportunity to adjust or make changes to your proposal before we do the final selection or we use it for your contract. So we do work with you. We do understand there's some changes. So does that answer your question, Michaela?
Yes, it does. I just wanted to have some sort of guidelines. If you're putting together samples, I would love to have a sample of like a paid student one, as well as maybe a more of a general career exploration. So we have a couple varieties to look at. Would be wonderful.
Okay.
I have just a quick question. I'm new to the piece of transition for our district. So I don't know, maybe you knew Mary Spillane. I kind of took over her spot. Okay, so she and I worked closely together in the same department. My question is, so in developing what we're going to do for the students, we just have to pick anything that would fall under those 5 areas of services, right? We develop what we want to do based on our students, and we kind of create our own program using the funding from this, if we are accepted. Okay, I just needed to wrap my head around it. I thought it, but sometimes I have to process out loud for it to be solid. So, okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much
Mm-hmm.
for listening to me process, everybody. Thank you.
We have a question for Amy.
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Hey, if you were to provide the, let's say the template for that, how do we go about requesting that? If that's the case, or we just randomly send it out to everybody, or do we have to actually contact you for it?
I think if we're going to be able to, and again, we've got to run this by our leadership team to make sure we can. What we would do is probably just add it to the RFP where it's posted. Otherwise, again, we will work with you when you submit your proposals. If something needs to be changed or updated, we can also share information at that time.
Perfect, thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions? How about Lindsay? Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't think so. You guys did a great job. Just know that we are super excited to be able to offer summer transition programs again to students across the state. Last year was kind of still weird because of COVID and things like that. And so we're really hoping to have lots of submissions, rich programs where students can participate and really learn skills and develop things even when they're out of school. So you guys are our partners, and we're always thankful for you guys coming to listen to us and bearing with us through changes and things like that. So that's the only other thing I would say. We really want it to be a collaborative effort, VR and whatever agency is awarded. So just keep that in mind. We're here to help you.
Well, I think that's it, unless there's anybody that has any other questions. I appreciate everybody getting on and listening and finding out more information about this summer transition program. Thank you.
Lindsay, did you have a question? I saw you unmute yourself. So
Yes, I do have a question. I don't know if this is the best place to ask it or if I should just follow up via email later. So the Lux Center for the Arts where I work, we actually do have a vaccine mandate for staff now. And I'm just curious if that's something we can do with the summer transition students next summer, or just how we should navigate that.
I will say this with project search sites, which I would consider, a similar kind of experience for students. They're business led. So if that means that's a requirement for your business, then I would include it in the proposal. I would also include it in the information that's shared with students so that they know that it's a requirement, so that if they want to apply, they know the expectations.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.